Hey lovely people, how are you all doing today? I hope you're grand. I'm in the kitchen. Well, obviously I'm in the kitchen because I'm not in the garden. And today I'm going to be doing a bit of storing. So I've got my little setup here which I'm going to show you guys in a minute. But first of all, I thought I'll have a quick word about storing in general. Because to me it's really important this year more than ever that I get my storage right, because I'm hoping to carry myself through the whole year and I don't want to waste all my gorgeous produce. So why do we store? Why do we bother to store? Obviously, simply because we've got too much in one go to eat all in one go. I do try to kind of pace my plot with successional sowings and sowings for summer, autumn, winter, what have you. But there's always a time when suddenly you have a mass of something, they need to be stored because they'll go off, or I want to harvest something in order to get it out of the ground because the next thing needs to go in. So actually that's what I'm going to do today. It's the broad beans, which I'll talk about a bit in a minute. Now in general, for all storage, you're looking at either an extreme of heat, so boiling or freezing, or the addition of something, so for instance lemon juice or vinegar, so you're adding acids, or sugar, so think of jam, that sort of thing. Drying things is another way of storing, so for instance a lot of my beans and peas, or my legume family, most of those I store dried. You can dry your fruits, tomatoes. I know quite a few of you've got dehydrators, another great way. How else? Oh, some things will store without much help at all, so if you think the squash, onions, potatoes, they're going to store just in their own skins, but you may need to kind of think about the temperature, so do they need a cool place, do they need a cold place, do they need to be kept dark, that sort of thing. So what I'm hoping to do as this year goes on is when I am having big harvests and I am storing things, for each thing I store I'll show you what I'm doing, but also talk about alternatives, so if you want to do something else you don't have to do what I'm doing. And I know there's a lot of you out there who are real old hands at all this stuff. This is, this is not me trying to teach people to suck lemons, or what, is that the phrase? Teach your granny to suck lemons, something like that. I'm not telling you this is how you must do it. There are loads of you who've got your own methods. This is purely for those who haven't got a clue, who are maybe doing it for the first time, and I just want to see if we can all kind of share the advice and the help where we can. So today it's broad beans. Now I'm going to freeze my beans. I could have left them on the plants to dry if I didn't need that space in the land. So if I'd wanted to have them dried rather than frozen, I'd leave them on the plants. It becomes apparent when the plant has basically died back and you're left with these sort of yellowy brown pods which are starting to rattle. At that stage, pod them, bring them home, spread them out on a nice, in a single layer on a tray, for example, or an air, sort of, cooling rack like you would use for baking. Put them somewhere warm and dry. I do them in my south-facing window. Give them a last little bit of a dry off, and then in an airtight jar, sorted. Got them all through the winter then, yay! But I'm going to freeze mine because I need that space in the land. So I'm just going to show you my setup because it's a little bit of a factory production line. Actually, just before I do that, the other thing to mention with harvesting and storing, there's two things actually. The first is, if I know I'm going to do a harvest, if I'm in the garden, I'm going to harvest something, I always leave that as my last job. So if I'm having a really long, lovely 8-10 hour gardening session, the very last thing I do is the harvest, because I want to get that stuff home and processed ASAP. I don't want to be picking things in the morning, leaving them lying around wilting all day and then storing them when they're half wilted. Yuck. I also, way more often than not, I bring things home in their pods, so peas, beans, that sort of thing. Pod them once I'm home and then get them frozen. Again, it's just, you know, helping to keep them fresh. The other thing about with any kind of storage is, as you're sort of podding your beans or going through your tomatoes, whatever it is, if you've got anything that looks slightly bruised or just slightly hinky in any way, don't store it, eat it straight away. You don't want to store manky stuff. You could cook it into something else and then store it, so you could make a big old batch of soup and then store it, because that cooking process will kill off anything that might have started growing in a split or that sort of thing. So, the idea with freezing the beans is, I'm not going to throw them just straight into the freezer. I'm going to blanch them first. So a lot of you will probably have heard that term, not necessarily know what it means. Oh, you blanch your veg. Very, very simply, they're going to be put into a pan of boiling water. All veg take a different time of boiling, but it's usually anywhere between sort of a minute and 3 minutes, and it's kind of by size. So if I was doing peas, a minute. So the broad beans, I'll get between 2 and 3 minutes, depending on how big they are. That boil, we're applying heat. That will stop the process of the enzymes starting to break down the bean straight away. So all those lovely nutritional parts of the bean that we want, all our vitamins, if we don't blanch first, we actually can lose them even in the freezer. But also blanching helps them to last longer. So if you didn't blanch them and they went straight in the freezer, you'd probably want to be eating them within 3 months. Blanching them, they will hopefully do well for 12 months. They won't last 12 months, of course they won't. I'll eat them before 12 months is out, but that's the idea. Now, when they've had their boil, I don't want to cook them, I just want to kind of give them that zap. So as soon as they've had their 2 or 3 minutes, depending on the size, I'm then going to plunge them into what we call an ice bath. Essentially a big bowl of freezing cold water to just take the heat right out of them again. After they've had their plunge, take them out of the ice bath, spread them on a tray to dry, give them a bit of a pat down, then they go in their tubs and then into the freezer. It's dead simple. It's just a whole number of steps. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to see if I can pick you guys up. Bear with me, because this might actually all go a little bit wonky for a second. Let's have a little looky see. So, the obvious starting point, pan on stove. So I'm going to do quite a big batch today. So I'm probably going to have about 4 pans full. So once I've got this water boiling, I don't want to throw it away and then have to reboil a whole nother pan. So what I do is, once they've boiled, they come over here, coming dashing down to the sink. They come into the sink, into the colander. They then colander, here we go, transfer into the ice bath. Yeah? Now, colander gets put to one side. Then in my washing up bowl, I'll have a load of that just boiled water, which I will put back in the pan on the stove and get ready for the next lot of beans. In the meantime, I've actually got 2 baths set up. My boiled broad beans will have gone in here. This will take quite a lot of the heat out, but I always give them a second dip, so I'll scoop them out, put them in here, get them really, really chilled down, scoop them out of here, and then onto a tray. So I don't use kitchen paper towels. You could do, but I try not to use throwaway stuff. So these are just clean linen towels. I'll spread them out, and then I've got a second one I'll put over the top when they're all done. Pat, pat, pat. And then I use these takeaway tubs. I used to gather these like some kind of weirdo tramp from the girls at work. They'd have their takeaways on night shifts, and I'd go round after them having their takeaway tubs. be useful. Okay, so what I'm going to try and do is set up a shot with you guys. Hang on, you're coming back around to me. I might cut this bit if it's too jiggly. In fact, it's going to be too jiggly. But I'm going to try and set up a shot so you can see the whole one of the bench. And I'm going to do one lot of beans from boil, drain, plunge, pat, so that hopefully you can see what I'm on about. Give me a tick to set it up. This could go horribly wrong. You might just get steamed out, we'll see. Okay, so I've had the first little lot on the bubble and they've just about had their time. So I'm going to whiz down the production line and hopefully it'll all make sense. I'm trying to get this all in shot for you guys, so hopefully you can see it. Oh, I've left the colander out. Okay, seeing you go wrong. Hopefully you won't get too steamy. Hurry, Vivi. Okay, so hot pan off. Plump the lid. Get those beans out, pronto. And then straight away into their chilly, icy bath. They're going to have their initial little cool in that. There's my hot water. Like I say, when you're doing a whole lot, you don't want to be bringing a pan of water to the boil for every single dose of them. That's going to come back to the boil. So I can feel that they've already made this water warm. So, oh, splashy. Scooch them out. Make such a mess in the kitchen. Right, now they can get even more chilled. Oh, that is really cold. Feel how cold that is. So the other thing now, because I'm in the little production line, I keep the next lot to boil in the fridge ready. I just keep everything in the, once they're podded, they're all going to live in the fridge until we're ready. That's almost back to the boil. You see what I mean about this like continuous little process? So in fact, yeah, next lot go in, 2 minutes, perfect. While they're in, this lot are nice and chilly now, so give them a shake and then literally just sort of spread them out in a single layer. The only reason I'm giving them a little bit of a pat dry is I don't want to freeze a load of water in my freezer. It's wasting the energy of the freezer. Also, I don't want these guys to stick together too much. What I have found though is that these little takeaway tubs, they vary slightly in size, but they mostly hold about 500 mils. So it's perfect for a portion of soup, perfect for a portion of veggies. I've just dried my hands on the patting towel, never mind. So, colander back ready for the next catch. Oven mitts ready to take the next one off the stove, which has got about another minute. So I'm going to crack on and get on with, I've got about another 3 or 4 pounds to get through this afternoon. I'm not going to bore you all with that. But just to say, I hope this new little strand is going to be useful over the coming year. And like I say, each time I'm harvesting something new or different, I'll try and share with you guys how I'm storing them, because I think that's really useful for most of us. Likewise, if you store things in different ways which you'd like to share, please tag on your different ways of storing on the comments. I'm just looking at the clock because we've got about a minute to go. Yeah, because sharing and learning together, that's the best way. Don't tell me to put things in vinegar and pickle them, because I hate pickles and I hate vinegar, except on my chips at the seaside. So, happy harvesting, happy storing. I'm rushing now. I will see you all again really soon. So in the meantime, I'll say cheerio and enjoy the bounty from your gardens. Take care.